Hello everyone, and welcome to a brief overview of a Pokémon speedrun. In this series, we're looking at a wide variety of Pokémon speedrun categories, what they're like, what to expect, and what some of the noteworthy points are. My name is Cruel, and I've speedrun just about every Pokémon game as part of an annual race across the series. For today's run, we'll be looking at the Pokémon Gold Manipless any percent Glitchless run. The rules of the category are simple. If you want to beat Pokémon Gold, start to red as fast as possible with using no glitches and no RNG manipulation, meaning we can't manipulate the luck in the game. Pokémon Gold starts off with us setting our settings to fast text, no switching Pokémon, and no animation. When we start the game, we set the time to 5:30 PM and give ourselves a one-character name. When talking to Mom, we make sure to set the date to Sunday, as we'll need that for a return later on. We get to the Professor and get our starter Pokémon. For this run, we'll be picking Totodile. Totodile works much better for the early game than Cyndaquil, and is much stronger than Meganium throughout the run. For our stats, we want to have a minimum of 12 attack, though 13 is very nice to get, and 10 special attack, preferably 10 speed and 11 special defense. The defense and special defense don't matter much, but higher does end up being better. The first part of the game we play through normally. We grab some potions and berries, get the dex, beat our rival, and set out to the first gym. On the way, we try to catch a Sentret if we encounter it, but we don't stick around for it if we don't. Once in Violet, straight to Faulkner's gym, and we use Rage our entire way through. Union Cave and Slowpoke Well are both quite uneventful. On the way to Union Cave, we can get Bellsprout if we didn't get a Sentret earlier, and in Union Cave we can get Sandshrew if we got neither of those two. On the bridge on Route 32, we can opt to fight Ralph. He's the bottom fisherman on the bridge, having only one Goldeen. But we only fight him if we fought Dawn earlier on, Spinner on Route 31, or 30, and if we still have our Bitterberry. This way we get Water Gun a little earlier, making the cave itself a little bit easier on us. After we're done with Slowpoke Well, we get to fight Bugsy, and this is honestly one of the scarier fights in the game. We pretty much use Rage all the way through our fight, and we kind of just hope that Scyther doesn't end up defeating us, as Fury Cutter can be quite scary sometimes. Once we do end up getting through the fight, we teach Fury Cutter right away, we heal to full, and we give the Paralyzed Cure Berry to our, at that point, Croconaw, because we're about to go fight our rival, arguably the deadliest fight in the game. Ghastly and Zubat aren't really an issue, but Bayleaf can be scary. It has three things it can do. It can do Poison Powder, Reflect, or Razor Leaf. Poison Powder and Reflect are both fine, but Razor Leaf can be a problem, as a crit is almost enough to one-shot us even from full health. So we want to get through this as fast as we can. Luckily, Fury Cutter is super effective, and due to the way that the game works, that means that effectively we're going to be doing like 4 times as much damage after every hit, so we usually get through this just fine. After making our way through the forest, we can go fight Whitney. Once again, we just click Fury Cutter and we just hope we don't miss. As long as we don't, this fight shouldn't be a huge issue. Whitney Control though, especially the Clefairy, as the Clefairy has the ability to use Metronome, and a number of things can be a problem. If it decides to paralyze us, or decides to poison us, causing too much damage, or if it just does a super effective move like Thunderbolt or something, that can be a massive problem. The Miltank can be a little bit of a problem as well, mainly because Stomp has a chance to flinch us, and that would break our Fury Cutter right there. The fight itself is pretty straightforward most of the time, so it's really not too much to worry about as long as we save beforehand. After clearing out her fight, we can get the Squirt Bottle, grab Kenya from the guard so that we have a flyer later on, and we can get the coin case to buy an Abra, and we do some shopping, mainly just to get some X items and heals. Before teleporting back to Violet, once our shopping is done, not have to deal with the trainers on the way to Sudowoodo. From here, the game becomes a little easier. By this point, we've been able to buy those X items, and we'll make good use of those during Morty to make that really easy. We can also get Surf from the Kimono Girls to upgrade our damage output by a lot. So once we arrive in Ecruteak, we beat the Kimono Girls, we beat Morty, and we move on to the Lighthouse. The rival in the Burnt Tower is only required in Crystal, so we just skip it. In the Lighthouse, we should get to level 29, and there's a rare candy in the Lighthouse that we can give to Feraligatr, or that we can give to Croconaw to evolve it into Feraligatr. If if we did not get level 29, we can beat a Tentacool on the way to Cyanwood and then use the rare candy after that. On our way to Cyanwood, we pick up Strength, and that just ups our damage even more. Once in Cyanwood, we get our last big roadblock for a while. Chuck is a fairly easy fight, 2 X attacks and just use Strength, but Chuck has Dynamic Punch, and Dynamic Punch can sometimes decide to be a bit of a troll. It's 50% to actually hit us, and he doesn't always use it, but if he does use it and we get hit by it, we always will get confused, and more often than not, we will not have our Bitter Berry anymore. Luckily, he should only get one chance to use it, so he usually goes down easy. At this point, we can start breezing through the game. The Rocket Hideout is no challenge and gives us a nice bit of extra experience. Bryce and Jasmine are both super easy, and the Radio Tower gives us even more required easy trainers to just boost our levels. Before entering the tower, we can do a bit more shopping for X items, and we also grab Ice Punch and Return, 2 moves we'll be teaching in a little bit, and 2 Calciums to further boost our special attack. After beating the Rockets, we also get the Pink Bow to boost Strength and Return even more. We can then go to Blackthorn, where we have to fight Claire, and Claire is a little bit harder, but Ice Punch one-shots all of the Dragonairs, and Kingdra is usually a 2-shot with Return, so all in all, it should be an easy time. When we arrive at the Elite Four, we'll do a bit of extra shopping. A couple repels, some full restores, some revives, just to ensure that we have an easy time getting through the Kanto region later. The Elite Four itself is fairly easy. Will requires 1 X special, after which everything but Slowbro just goes down in 1 hit. Koga, we use an X special and an X accuracy, so we don't have to deal with double teams and minimize and that sort of stuff. X accuracies in this game mean that you completely bypass accuracy checks, so double team and minimize becomes effectively useless. Bruno will almost always use Dig, turn 1, which gives us effectively 2 turns to set up, so we can use 2 X attacks and just kind of sweep his team from there. Karen is a little more tricky, as the Umbreon can be a bit annoying, but an X special, possibly an X accuracy if it does decide to use Sand Attack, and some full restores to deal with confusion, and that kind of just tends to do the trick. Once Umbreon goes down, the rest of the fight is free. Lance has 3 Dragonites. We have Ice Punch, so this usually doesn't become much of a problem. Gyarados will usually die to 2 returns. The Dragonites all go down to Ice Punch, although the level 50 does tend to be a range, especially if your special is lower, is on the low end of things. And really neither Dragonite or Charizard or Aerodactyl should really pose a threat, as they go down to Surf pretty easily. As long as you go into Lance at full health, he should never really be a problem. Once we enter the Hall of Fame, the game saves, at which point we can soft reset and continue to the next part. With that, we're done with the Johto region. But it's not over yet. The Gold Run will go all the way to Red, so we have some cleaning up to do. If you've ever played the game, you know that the Kanto region tends to be fairly easy. The levels of the gym leaders are on par with that of most Elite Four members, so none of them are too scary, besides maybe Blue. We take the SS Aqua to get to Kanto, and when we arrive, we immediately fly to Vermilion so that we save up on some movement. From Vermilion, we make our way to Saffron and then Lavender, going through Rock Tunnel to get to the other end. Learning the path can take a little bit of practice, but it saves 2 trainer fights, so it's well worth learning. On the other side, we can briefly enter the center so we can teleport back here later. Flying to the center is not an option in Pokemon Gold Silver Crystal, so this is what we have the Abra for. We go to the power plant to trigger that quest, fly back to Saffron, and make our way to Celadon to beat up Erica, as she's a little out of the way. Erica itself is not difficult at all. We just follow the route, fairly easy fight, and after that we go back to Saffron once more, this time heading to Cerulean. On the way to Cerulean, we quickly stop at Sabrina's gym just to beat up Sabrina, get that out of the way. The Espeon can sometimes be a range, but most of the time this fight is fairly easy. And even if we do not get the range, Espeon more often than not will not really pose much of a threat. Before we can fight Misty, we have to knock out some trainers north of Cerulean. A good chance for a bit more experience, and Misty itself is fairly easy. On the Quagsire, we set up an X attack, and the rest of the fight is free from there. On our way out, we get the machine part, teleport back to the power plant, which is the second time we use our Abra and the second time we got it for. And from there, we make a quick stop in Lavender for the expansion card, and we pretty much have the entire rest of the map open to us now. At this point, we set on a pretty linear path from gym to gym to clear out the rest. We fly to Vermilion to beat Search, go through Diglett Cave to Pewter to beat Brock, and then we can travel south to Cinnabar where we have to talk to Blue to be able to fight him later on, only to move on to Seafoam Islands to beat Blaine. None of these fights are much of a threat. Surge's Pokemon mostly just die to a single return or a single surf depending on the Pokemon. Brock, we just click surf 5 times. If we need to, some ice punches can work as well. And Blaine is a fire gym. We are a water type. This fight's free. After Seafoam Islands, we can then surf up to Fuchsia for our last gym leader besides Blue, Janine, where again, we just use return 5 times. Fight. Honestly, none of these gym leaders are really noteworthy, but they at least tie in together nicely. Once we beat Janine, there's only 2 fights left to do. We fly back to Viridian at that point to beat Blue, and this is our first tricky fight in a while. At the start of the fight, we use 2 or 3 X attacks and possibly an X speed depending on our DV stats that we have on our Totodile. From there, we return on everything except the Rhydon, for which we have Surf. This may require healing on the Pidgeot at some point, but other than that, the fight should still be fairly doable. And once we beat Blue, we quickly talk to Oak and we can make our way to the last fight. Now, the red fight is one of the only fights since Chuck that can actually be a problem. Red starts with Pikachu, and a crit Thunder from Pikachu will one-shot us, and a regular Thunder will put us on really low health. We start the fight off with a Guard Spec. This makes it so that Red is 75% on every turn to use Charm until we do an actual attack, buying us some much needed time to set up. As long as he doesn't use Thunder, the fight is easy. It takes 3 X attacks and an X speed to be able for us to do the fight, so we do need a few turns for this setup, and sometimes Pikachu will use Thunder. If he does do that, we need to keep using full resource and just kind of hope he misses. It loses a lot of time for that to happen though, as the depletion of the health bar and then again healing up for us just takes a lot of time, and this fight can easily lose several minutes if you get unlucky. Once he does miss, it's back to the setup the way we did it before. Once we are set up, at that point we can just return on everything, one-shotting or two-shotting every Pokemon for an easy victory. Screen turns to black after the last text box, we hit time. And that's it. Pokemon Gold Manipless any % Glitchless in a nutshell. If you'd like to try it yourself, there will be a link to the notes in the description. All of my runs are streamed live on Twitch, link also in the description. Be sure to like, subscribe, and I hope to see you guys back for a future summary video. Have a good one.